Whenever you're ready.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
We missed you last week, but we were really busy last weekend, and we just didn't have time to sit down. So now we have time. It's a nice relaxing weekend and discuss some Disney Cruise Line stuff.
There's been a lot of things happening in regards to Disney Cruise Line. So we thought we'd take the time to address some of the things that we've seen. We personally have not received the survey that's going around, but we have seen several agencies or just really news outlets that have sent out a short list of what the survey is entailing. So we thought we'd give our opinion on what we've seen. So we'll go through that and we'll go from there.
So Disney Cruise Line appears to be sending out surveys to some people with cruises booked in the future to see what changes people would be willing to accept, what would make them more likely to keep a reservation if some sort of onboard credit would get guests to keep a reservation, things like that. So, like I said, we have not received a survey, probably because we are on Facebook groups for our cruise. We talk about cruises. If you check out my Instagram,
it's got Cruise Line all over it. And then not only that, but also our YouTube channel. When we were doing the Disney Wonder and the Disney Dream, we tagged Disney Cruise Line throughout that. So our profiles are definitely Disney forward, and it seems from what we're seeing and what other news outlets are providing is that they're steering away from social media heavy people. So a lot of the big name people haven't received it, but we don't know. So we're just going to talk about that.
We talk about Disney enough, I guess. That
hey, Disney is great, and you know what? Even with some of the stuff that they have on this survey, I mean, some of it makes you think, but I mean, a lot of it's just like, okay, that seems fine, and we'll go through what we have available to us.
So we found this has been posted on our Facebook page for our upcoming sailing. It was also posted.
It was posted on several of the groups that were
on Facebook, and then it is on Disney Cruise Line blog. So, the first thing, there's a whole section about safety and health protocols. Nothing new to any of us at this point in this whole adventure. We'll call it an adventure.
We could definitely call it an adventure. Something changes every day or every week, so.
Obviously, we're all used to physical distancing. Whether it's actually being done in places is another story. I can say I went to the grocery store yesterday, and people were a lot closer together than they should be. Yeah,
and we'll get into it in masks, especially in Texas, where the governor has issued a 100% mask order when you're in public areas where you can't physically distance yourself. And I was in multiple stores today, and people just didn't have their mask. Again, it's not for your benefit, it's to protect other people, and I think that's what Disney's trying to capture, but we'll get to that.
Disney, yes, they want to make money, but they're also, in order to continue making money, they have to make sure that their cast members, their crew, and that their guests are safe. So, physical distancing, like we said, obviously, it's a big deal. And really, I can tell you from some of the places that we've been on the ship, there are so many people just together that, it's not safe in the situation that we're in right now. If you've seen anything about Disney World, which opened back up today, yay, Disney World. I've got like 3 months until I'm there. I'm so excited. But there are plenty of videos out there and information out there about, big time bloggers. We're not them, sorry. You could make us be, though.
We have a whole 2 subscribers,
you know, they have markers on the ground, in line, in the ride queues, and security, and you know, this is going to be a thing for quite some time until this all clears up, which nobody knows for sure when that's going to be. But anyway, we kind of got it off topic a little bit.
As far as physical distancing measures are concerned, more than likely what we'll see is the markers like we see in the parks, more than likely in the more common areas. The buffet, which we'll get to that not being an actual self-serve, and then in by the quick service areas, those will more than likely have taped off areas so that you can physically distance. And then one big thing that is a very big unknown right now is limiting of people on board the ship.
Yes, that is the next thing.
What's the capacity going to be? Because like Miriya said, wherever you are, there's people all up on each other, and so some kind of reduction in capacity is going to have to happen. What that looks like, I don't even think the cruise lines know right now. I think they're playing with the numbers.
I know that I've seen a few things online for, you know, other cruise lines have put out information that maybe it'll be 50% capacity, but then it comes down to how do the cruise lines choose who gets to be on the ship. Do they say, hey, we need to decrease how many people are on the ship, we will offer you some incentive to change your cruise date until after we think this will all be over? Because I don't think that they're going to come out to a guest and say, oh, you booked later than someone else, so you don't get to be on. I think what may happen is they could say, okay, no more new bookings for this sailing anymore. You know, even when a sailing is sold out, take it off the website when you search for it, and then put forth incentives. Hey, who, you know, if we offer you this, will you change your sailing? Just like kind of like when airlines are overbooked and, you know, we'll offer you, you know, this money to take a flight tomorrow type of thing. But no one, nothing official has come out. We don't know. This is just, again, our thoughts on what has been proposed. None of this is set in stone. None of this is guaranteed to happen. When we have official things announced from Disney, we'll sit down and we'll do another one of these. But for now, this is what could happen. So we don't know how they're going to determine who gets to go, but when they let us know, the general public know, we'll let you know.
And that kind of brings us to our next point. We've seen this at Disney Springs, at Disney World.
Even in the grocery stores here.
Yeah, the increased number of hand washing and hand sanitization stations. More than likely they'll be all over the general areas, and then more than likely as you come off the elevators is what I would suspect. And even as you come off the main elevators and try and go either port or starboard side to a cabin, they might have it there, but they're talking about increased hand sanitizing stations, which, I mean...
It doesn't...
Yeah.
Speaking from 8 cruises, there's bathrooms everywhere. There's, every time you walk and wipe at cabanas on all of the ships except the Dream? 3 of the ships have sinks.
Yeah, the Dream doesn't
but
have it. Yeah.
Because it hasn't been, the Fantasy was refurbed more recently than the Dream was. Anyway,
but
it's not, and
it's not something new. I'm pretty sure they have stock in like the hand sanitizing wipes, because everywhere you go that involves food, minus like the quick service.
Well, there's wipes up there, and on the Wonder we noticed there was a sink.
Right next to Pete's, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the ships by no means are they dirty.
No.
By no means is it, oh, you have to carry your own hand sanitizer around. It is.
It's provided.
They're
and
always
it's
cleaning, but you know an increase. Every cruise line, everything right now is all about sanitizing your hands. But hand sanitizer is finally back in stock, at least in the stores here. So
yeah.
The next, that employees are going to be required to wear a mask and gloves and that employees are going to need to be temperature checked regularly. Whatever regularly is, I don't know. Maybe when they start their shift every day. Mm-hmm. We don't know for sure. But then to masks.
Yeah, masks. I know that's a hot button issue all across the globe, but having guests wear masks or cloth face coverings at all times unless you're dining or in water activities. So pretty much if you're not in your cabin, you're wearing a mask. The one interesting thing that we saw come out this week with Disney World reopening was that gaiters or neck face coverings were not allowed. It has to be secured behind your ears. Now at work I wear a gaiter, so it's around my neck. I just pull it up and it covers my mouth and my nose. But those at Disney World are not allowed. You have to have something secured behind your ears. So more than likely,
I can see Disney going the same way. But also at the same time, it also has to cover your nose and your mouth and fit underneath your chin, which a lot of homemade cloth ones they don't sit under your chin.
No, they sit right at your chin.
So again,
it'll be interesting to see what their policy will be, and then I know that's going to be a big turnoff. Actually, on our Panama Canal sailing, we've seen several people with just this come out
say that they don't want to wear a mask all day, every day. So also, guests will be required to have their temperature screened prior to embarking and when returning from ports of call.
That makes sense. I mean,
it does, but that brings up, okay, so you have been spending the day on the beach in the Caribbean, and you are hot, and it is proven that raises your body temperature. And the threshold for having a fever in this all is technically still within normal body temperature according to health guidelines from what I have seen. So now your temperature is up a bit. Are they going to leave you in a foreign country now because your temperature is higher than what you're allowed, even though there are so many different reasons as to why your temperature could go up? When the whole temperature screening thing started, there was a lot of debate out there. One, it's not definite a determining factor of whether you have it. There are so many different reasons as to why you could have a fever. A fever is not even guaranteed to present if you have coronavirus. If a child is teething, they get a fever. So, there's so many different reasons, and it's just it's not guaranteed to catch things.
Yeah, it's not a really reliable source. And there really isn't a really reliable source outside of testing, and that's become a very big topic of debate as to whether the testing and whether there's a lot of false positives or even false negatives coming through. So there's a lot that can happen. Where they're going to go with that,
and at that so another proposed thing is perhaps that guests have to have a negative test before boarding.
Yeah.
So this is one thing that every time I start talking about this, it really gets me, is you could take a test 2-3 days before you get on the ship and it comes back negative. And then you're on the ship for 2 days and you start to have symptoms. So, it's not guaranteed. It's not, oh yes, this is the exact time frame that you are going to show up. Yeah. It could not. You could be one of those people who doesn't have any symptoms at all, and there's no guaranteed way to stop everything.
And then you mentioned as well the insurance issue. If you're not symptomatic, then insurance won't pay for it. So basically to sail, you have an additional cost on top of that, which I don't remember.
I don't know what the cost is, but I know that most insurance companies will not cover the test if you do not have symptoms. If you are just testing
just to
for
test.
the heck of it.
Yeah, and at that point, some people save for years in order to even afford a 3-night Disney cruise. So it'd just be an added expense, added burden to people at that point. But again, we don't know if that's definite as to what's happening.
But now that brings us to our next thing. There is the cruise rate flexibility if you book through the end of August for sailings that leave on or before April of next year, April 1st of next year. So that's cool. You can change your dates up to 15 days prior to your sailing. But what happens if you take a test 4 days before you're sailing? It comes back. You're positive. You can no longer sail, but you can no longer cancel or change your dates either.
Yeah.
So
what's Disney gonna, what are cruise companies in general going to do in that instance? People are trying to be safe, trying to make sure that people don't get it, but at the same time they're kind of in that gray water where they could be SOL at that point. So yeah. And the next point is it. I don't even know how it's possible, but increased cleaning and sanitization throughout the ship. We've mentioned it several times before.
They're always cleaning. Always.
Are always cleaning, whether it's the banisters, whether it's the railing, or even the bars that are between the banister and the
floors
floor.
Of the elevators, cleaning, wiping down the walls. They're always cleaning. So if they can find a way.
If they can find a way to clean more, I would be very impressed. I mean, we've seen our stateroom host using a cleaning agent on the walls, whether that was in response to a possible norovirus outbreak.
But still,
we're not sure.
They're always cleaning.
Yeah, we see them constantly doing it. So that is another proposed. It may also be a presence of like a placebo effect of if you see more people out there cleaning, then it could set your mind at ease.
Maybe you feel safer.
Maybe, but that's completely up to Disney and honestly people.
Now, all right, we come to experiences. Now, this is not guaranteed. This is what's going to happen.
Yep.
This is what could happen. We'll say what we think will happen and what could happen. But I don't think any of these are going to, for real, not happen just because
they make sense.
Okay, so deck parties temporarily paused. We're going to put a picture right here of what it looks like at the pirate party and at the sail away party.
Because we're always up on deck 11 or deck 13 on the fantasy. Either way, we're above where the parties happen, so we have a advantage of the entire.
There's a lot of people, and a lot of people close together. There's no way with everyone up on deck for a sail away party for pirate night that you can socially distance. There are so many people.
Yeah.
Deck parties are going to have to go away for a little bit because there's no way you can do it safely.
The only and just thinking about it, and again we talked about how will the cruise companies, if they go that way, determine who's going to be allowed to sail, who's going to be told no they can't. At that point, the only logical thing that you could possibly do is make the deck party a ticketed event. Kind of like the Princess Gathering, where you have multiple deck parties and shows, and you say, okay, well, these people have, when you do online check-in, reserve a slot, and you have so many slots. That's an option. I don't know how viable that is, especially when we're talking about the sail away or the sail away party, where people are excited to get on the ship, excited to get their vacation started. That's one possible option, or just not doing them in general.
Yeah, I can see them stopping until this is all under control, no longer a threat anymore, until, things can go back to actual normal.
Yeah.
The next point, this because we've seen it at the parks, close interactions with characters will be temporarily unavailable. I wholeheartedly believe that is going to take place, because to get a picture of the character, you have to be well within 6 feet of that character. So what we've seen happening at Disney World is they've done away with character meet and greets, except for, I think there are 2 character meals available right now. And you can kind of say hi while the characters
slowly walk past.
Well, no, they stopped. We watched that one video.
Yeah.
The characters stopped about 5 feet away. The character's in the giant costume, you're wearing your mask. and you
You're
take
allowed
a picture
pictures.
of them.
You can even like
They
spin around
can't,
it.
you know, they can't sign autographs or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at all of the parks now, at least at Disney World, what they're supposed to be doing is there's some kind of procession of characters that goes through. So not necessarily a parade, because that gathers huge crowds.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see, you know, some sort of the characters walk down, or I don't know. But character meet and greets are not going to be the same for a while.
Yeah. They're going to have to get creative with it, especially, again, because cruises are tight-knit quarters, not a lot of room to mess around with. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do something to that effect, or if they just suspend it altogether. One thing that I know will get a lot of people blood boiling is the next point, which is the kids club activities. And a kid.
Well, we're not going to get to the sign-ups yet.
No, the activity is
Yes.
reduced. So the capacity for the kids club being reduced, which makes sense. I mean, whenever we go in there for either open house or just to go get Christian,
It's pretty full.
it's ridiculously full. And kids in general, they
Want to be close together.
They want to be close together. They want to have that social interaction. And some kids, depending on their age, may understand slightly what's happening. But at the end of the day, they get so focused in that mindset of, hey, look, I've got friends here. I'm going to go play, and we're going to have fun.
So I could see them reducing the capacity to 50% of what's allowed to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, reducing group activities, the force training, the even playing like Gaga Ball and stuff, because you have to be close together for that. The kids clubs will remain open, that's for sure, but it won't be the same. There will be less stuff.
Yeah.
And that moves us on to the next one. Another proposed point is access to port limited to those who book short excursions with Disney. I understand why, because you are contained in a group. They are, you know, controlling what is done, not just roaming off and doing whatever.
Yeah.
However, I can see this being a issue with a lot of people. I know a lot of people either want to book an excursion straight through the excursion company because it's cheaper,
yeah.
or for our upcoming sailing, we had planned in most of the ports to just get off and walk around the port area, or to get a taxi or a bus to the beach, because there's 4 of us, and to do an excursion in 6 or 7 ports through Disney is a lot of money.
It is.
So we can understand why they want to do it, but we can also understand why others don't want to do that.
Yeah, and that could definitely affect people's want to take a cruise. I mean, a lot of people take cruises to not only relax, but also to go see different countries, see different places. So if you have to book it through Disney, people could be like, well, I don't want to spend that extra money on top of the cruise fare. Whereas, like we said, we're just going to get off the ship and do stuff on our own. If that's not available to people, then, I mean, people might cancel.
Yeah, I mean, Disney excursions through Disney are awesome. We've done them, but we've done a couple of these ports before, and a lot of the other ports on our upcoming cruise were just easily navigable in the port areas, and we didn't want to shell out the money to do an excursion in every port. It also gives the opportunity to get back to the ship when you want. You know, a lot of the excursions are 4 hours long, and then you don't have time once you get back, you know, when it's dinner time. And
what was it, St. Thomas?
It was in Tortola.
No, Tortola, yeah. We got back. We were also delayed, but we got back right before the ship was supposed to set sail. But another thing with that is maybe you don't want to spend extra money on food out in wherever at your port adventure if it's not included. In those instances, we like to get off early in the morning after we've had breakfast, and then do what we want to out in the port, and then come back onto the ship for food where it's included, and save money that way. Because again, Disney cruises they're expensive, but you get a lot out of them, and they're definitely fun. So that's just our opinion.
The next point, proposed point, there could be a later embarkation time. What I'm getting out of this, I could be completely wrong, is they might allow less people per port arrival time and enforce it, because there are so many people who get there earlier than their port arrival time.
Yeah.
But they might enforce it so only so many people are in the terminal at a time, so they can be spaced out, so only so many people are boarding the ship at a time, so only so many people are in the lobby at a time.
Yeah.
And so that will make it take longer, and because that would take longer,
they'd have to push back the departure times for leaving.
But also, another thing is they might even start the boarding process later because they will need longer to sanitize the ship between sailings.
Yeah, because we mentioned the increased sanitizing and cleaning of the ship after the Coast Guard has cleared the ship. I mean, and we might even see debarkation being a little bit more rushed in that instance of, okay, where normally people could be like, slowly get off the ship and wait till very last moment. They could be like, okay, let's go. We can get the next people going. And to Miriya's point about the cruise terminal just being packed, we'll post a picture of Port Canaveral when we were departing out for our dream, and it was extremely packed because they had Captain Minnie, Captain Mickey come out, but either way, it was still wall-to-wall people, and that's what they're trying to prevent.
Yep.
So.
This next point we've talked about a couple times. This is definitely going to happen.
Yes.
The buffet, the drink station, the soft serve will not be self-service for a while until, again, this is all over. They've done it before for, various
norovirus
outbreaks,
breakouts, whatever kind of illness.
Cabanas will still be a thing.
Yeah.
It will still be a buffet. It will be more like when you went through the lunch line in school, I think, where, do you want this?
Mm-hmm.
They'll put it on your plate for you when you walk up to the beverage station. There's actually one of our sailings for one or two of the days, I don't remember what ship, I think it might have been the Fantasy, actually, that you had to walk up and the cast member would give you whatever beverage you wanted from the beverage station. Same at the ice cream station. I think the time I've seen it at the ice cream station was because some kids made too much of a mess and they wanted it controlled for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
it's not a big
it's
deal.
not going to take away anything. It will reduce the hours of the beverage station. A couple of weeks ago we talked about it on the last sailing before cruising stopped. I looked at the navigator from it, and the beverage station, instead of being open 24 hours, was open, I think it was 5 a.m. to like 11 p.m. or maybe midnight or something. But a cast member has to be standing there, to get people what they want.
Yeah.
So I can definitely that is going to happen.
Yeah.
There will be a cast member.
And honestly, just thinking about it, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you tell them, it's like Miriya said, it's still going to be a buffet. You can have as much as you care to take. You just say, I'd like this. You put it up. They've got shields so that the food stays contained. You get a cast member to do it for you. I imagine that's how they're going to go, because it's the most logical thing to do. But it doesn't.
Same thing as at the buffet portion of Paulo Brunch. I definitely see that happening.
Yeah, that's going to have to get remodeled because that's a very open construct.
Well,
but
we read a post from someone, I don't remember where I read it, that was on the last, it might have been on our sailing page for the upcoming, because someone was on the last one as well. The last Panama Canal, which was the last Disney ship to get to a port and disembark, was at Paulo Brunch. It was like that. Your server, walked with you, carried your plate, put your stuff on it, and then took it to the table for you. But I don't know. we will see.
Yep.
So, this next one. It plays in with the kids club, and it is definitely something that I can see happening, and something that will
Impact people heavily.
piss a lot of people off.
You're blunt. I try to be political. What can I say?
Okay, so it is proposed that the nursery, that is for infants and toddlers, children 6 months to 3 years, could be temporarily closed. I can see this happening because there are a lot of babies in there. Babies do, according to the CDC, people under 3 shouldn't have a mask on. Disney at the parks is requiring everyone that is 2 and older to have a mask on. Now, kids touch each other, especially when they're little.
They put their hands in their mouths. They put
touch everything.
Things in their mouth.
And that is why I can see the nursery being temporarily closed until this is over.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, kids are gross.
Kids are gross.
We have 2 of them. We know. We went to the park today,
Yep.
and Bella put her face on a slide.
Why she would do that, I don't know. She even put the little microphone thing in her mouth. Yeah.
Yes, we cleaned her.
Yes. Oh.
Some germs are okay. Makes it so they don't die.
But moral of the story is
Kids are gross.
kids are gross, especially younger kids. I mean, Christian's gross. He puts peanut butter and mayonnaise on his sandwiches.
Yeah, that's a different
kind of gross.
That's a different kind of gross.
Still, you guys understand what I'm saying.
Anyway, so it could definitely be closed, and if it is closed, that impacts a lot of families like ours. We wouldn't be able to do Polo brunch because Bella is not old enough to go to the club yet, and we wouldn't be able to put her in the nursery.
She's not allowed to go to Polo, so I mean, it could negatively impact people. There's also just times where parents want to be alone, and so they put their kid in the nursery for an hour or 2. It does not by any means mean that they don't want to spend time with their kid. They went on vacation. They want a break too. Yeah,
we've also seen some posts from our last sailing. Actually, I think it might have been the Dream. Anyway, that a mom was saying that she was going to put her child in the nursery every night for dinner so that she could just have dinner in the main dining room with her husband. So
yeah, and it could very well impact people and be a very big factor as to whether people go or decide to cancel or
change to a
different date
in the future.
Again, we understand it completely, but
it's one of the things I can definitely see happening. The next one is the family pool will be limited by hours and capacity. We're going to put a picture of the pool in too, okay? The pool is not large, and there are a lot of people that try and get in there. It is people soup.
And that's one of the reasons why we mentioned in one of our previous vlogs is Christian and I like to go up and swim at night because there's not that many people. It's cooler, but mostly it's not as big of a people soup.
Yeah, there's so many people in there, and
it kind of plays into the whole deck party thing. There's as many, if not just slightly less, people up on deck at the pools during that time as a deck party. So I mean,
and there's no way to not be near people. Christian was in the pool, and he was trying to just, he wanted to cool off, so he was in there relaxing. And kids were swimming over and under other kids. People were just...
Yeah.
I was sitting with my feet in, and there was just too many people.
Yeah, it is just so many people. It's not even funny.
So limiting the capacity, I think, is something that should be done regularly anyway. Yes, there is this many people can fit in the pool. This is how many people, we're going to allow. And the lifeguards keep track of that. But I really think that just because of the size of the pool, a lot of the times there are way too many people in there, and it's just...
Yeah, and the lifeguards try to be understanding, and as long as it's not too ridiculous, they let it go. But in this instance, it's going to be a very much rigid...
Especially because when swimming, masks are not required, and wearing a mask when you're swimming doesn't make any sense anyway, because it's going to get wet, and that completely defeats the purpose. So...
And we're not waterboarding people, so...
I believe, yes, that will happen.
How they're going to do it, we don't know. Because it'd be kind of messed up to say, yeah, it's a first come, first serve. Because, I mean, there's people that go up there and are straight up rude. They go up and they put chip clips and towels on loungers when you're not supposed to reserve loungers. So we could definitely see people just camping up there and taking away time that other people could.
Yeah.
We'll see that.
The next and last under this category is the number of entertainment options reduced. I can see this one as well, just because I went to Beauty and the Beast on the Dream, and you went to the Magic Show.
Also the Magic Show, yeah.
We've also gone to game shows. Went to So You Think You Know Your Family. Even at the Mickey 200,
yeah,
there's a lot of people, and people are so close together in the theater and everything. So I think I can definitely see probably keeping the Broadway shows, maybe doing away with
the
variety acts, and then limiting capacity. Not, this is how many chairs we have. It's going to be, you sit with your family, and then they leave so many chairs in between.
Yeah.
So, your family of 4, and then there's 3 or 4 chairs empty, and right behind you and right in front of you, there's chairs empty as well, so that, you're...
It's giant Tetris is what it's going to have to be.
Socially distanced all the way around. And I feel like if that's how it's going to be, then there's also going to have to be some kind of booking platform, whether it's in the Personal Navigator app for, yes, I will be coming to the show tonight.
Yes.
And yes, I want a spot, so that only so many people can get in. And that way they know, and at that point maybe they'll even assign seats like they do in movie theaters now with this is where you're going to sit.
Like you have to book you have to go in and say, okay, this many people from my stateroom are going to be attending, and then they do their giant Tetris with pre-planning and say, okay, they do a push notification to you saying, okay, you're reserved at this time, these seats. That would make things a little bit smoother, in my opinion. Say like the morning of, by 9 o'clock you have to have your reservation in. I mean, that wouldn't be too bad.
But then at the same point, if you're sailing and somebody in your family starts to get seasick,
then you're taking away
or
seats.
The kids get tired and you decide you don't want to go to the show tonight, even though you thought you were going to. So, I don't know.
This is up there, Tetris.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So, this last category is digital experiences. We live in a almost digital world. There's still a lot of paper, though. Especially nowadays, everything's becoming disposable again, so nothing's reused and nobody touches things and everything.
Yeah.
Anywho, so again, these are not guaranteed. I can see them happening though.
Yeah, they all make sense and are logical.
These are proposed. This could happen. We don't know. When we know for sure, we'll talk about it.
Yep.
There could, capital C, be digital signups for virtual queues at water slides, the main pool, and to debark at ports of call. So it could happen. Like we said, there's a lot of people at the pool, especially on the bigger ships. There's a lot of people in line for the water slide. Even if sometimes during the day on sea days at the adult pool,
that gets packed. Yeah.
So we don't know. We could definitely see that happening though.
Yeah.
Signups for that.
Like we said, it makes sense. Like I mentioned, people go up and how they're gonna, if they use the virtual queue for main pool times, if they slot bracketed them out, I mean, that would make sense. That way people aren't camping up there all day. People have equal time to do that. And then debarkation at ports of call, that would, depending on how
we'll see
that all works out.
If they don't go with you have to book an excursion through
Yeah.
Disney, then I could see, okay, you're allowed to leave the ship at this time and then come back whenever. But I don't think they could have both
No.
together. It's going to have to be one or the other. Because excursions leave when excursions leave.
Yeah,
So,
and they take priority. They straight up cut people in line in order to get off the ship. If you're on a port adventure, you go straight and you go out the ship. So that's one thing that I definitely agree. You'd either go one or the other in that case. Just because I think it would be better for the cruise industry, I think that the debarkation digital queue would be better. Just because you could say, okay, hey, I'm going to get us a departure time of whatever. You can go do whatever you want and then come back and enjoy the ship. But again, we'll see what happens with that.
And the last thing is there could be a possibility of advanced booking required for major onboard activities, including the theater, which we talked about
that.
Movies.
Makes sense.
There's only so much space in there. And kids club time slots. Now, we talked about kids. We talked about the limited amount of capacity that they could be going down to. We talked about how they could be reducing activities.
Let's talk about the indecisiveness of children. And
if you have to say, okay, my child is going to be in the kids club, and you go in to try and get a time slot, and there's one slot left for that day, and it's when you plan to be doing something. Well, I guess my kid's not going to club today.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, Christian normally wants to go after dinner. And then sometime during the day on sea days. We don't know when he's going to want to go. We're on vacation. If we're not, supposed to be getting to dinner or getting off the ship or eating lunch together, we pretty much let him go whenever he wants. So having to decide that in advance, even the day of or, the night before or whatever, trying to get a slot could be a deterrent, I think.
It definitely could.
It makes things hard.
It sucks telling your kid no, especially something so trivial as, hey, I want to go play.
Yeah.
And by all means, I don't want to tell him no, but I mean, also want him to be safe and other kids to be safe. So that's something that I think we would have to talk about and figure out if the juice is worth the squeeze for us. Because right now we're still very much yes, it is worth the squeeze right now, but increasingly over the last few days we've been taking a good hard look at what we're expecting and how we're going to proceed with our Panama Canal cruise. As of right now, we are still booked and planning on going, but
things could change. We so want to take this cruise. 14 nights is just amazing. We've done, 2 7-night cruises back to back, and it was awesome. So the length is, we like longer cruises.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable for us.
We really want to take this itinerary because, it's something that not a lot of people get to do. We want to go through the Panama Canal. We want to experience it. It's some new ports that we haven't been to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with
best for us?
A child that will be just shy of 3 and then another that will be just shy of 7, keeping a mask on all day is, not something that they want to do. It's not something I want to do as a, almost 30-year-old. So,
it's going to be hard, and then we're also booked for an inside stateroom, so, I mean, even if we increased our time in stateroom,
it'd be a lot of sitting and watching TV.
Yeah, which is, again, costs. We spent all that money on
Disney Plus at home and watch almost all of the same things.
Accurate. So it's definitely something that we're going to be talking about in the coming days, weeks, months, and monitoring the situation.
Yeah. So we said a lot of these things we can see happening. And with the whole nursery situation, we had talked about doing Paulo once or twice on this next cruise. And not being able to put Bella in the nursery for that, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Christian, like we said, likes to go to the club a lot. And him not being able to go whenever he wants is, something. So we are definitely going to sail, and we are definitely going to do Panama Canal.
But when
But
is going to be the
at
question.
this point, most likely not in February of 2021 like we had planned on. I think what we're maybe leaning towards is pushing to the next Panama Canal, not all the way to the next February, but to November, sailing from San Diego to, I think it's still going to end in Galveston.
I think so, yeah.
Starting out further from home and then sailing back home. And
we don't know where we're going to be next year, so
unless we're in California, we become on the right way. So
True.
No matter where we are. But also, it would most likely be a very maritime sailing, and we have done 3 of those before, and they're so much fun.
They are, and Isabella hasn't experienced that yet, so
Seeing Santa on the ship and
the gingerbread smell that's constant within the lobby,
and the Christmas tree and all the Christmas activities. And we really think that at that point, it's still almost a year and a half from now.
Things are going to be figured out at least better there, and
There should be, a vaccine, and the world should be semi-back. Not quite back to the way it was before, because I think at least for a while people are going to be more cognizant of maybe I should clean my hands.
yeah.
But I don't think at that point that masks will still be a thing. I think that character meet and greets will be back. I think ships will be sailing at full capacity, or even, if they have to go down to 50%, that'll be full capacity for, that'll be the new norm.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that by that time, things will be not how they could be when cruising starts again, which from what I've seen could, not even be until after February.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
we don't know.
variables.
That's where we're at right now. We're still booked. It could change.
We have contingency plans is the biggest thing.
We have a plan just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've mentioned it multiple times, but just in case somehow you missed it, these are proposed ideas that came out in a survey.
Mm-hmm.
We did not receive the survey, but we've seen it online. We don't know what Disney's thinking. We don't know what any cruise line's thinking.
These are just our opinions based on the survey topics that we've seen.
And what we think could happen.
What we think could happen and how we think it could impact cruising and how people will react to cruising. So again, our personal opinions, no one else's opinions.
Yeah. So. And we are not in any way affiliated with Disney.
No, we are not.
Sadly. So that's, what we think about all of this going on. We hope that the world starts to get a little bit better sooner rather than later, but as things are happening lately, especially here in Texas, things are going to get worse before they get better.
Yep. And it all depends on how people react, so hope you guys found it at least interesting, and if
informative.
Yeah, informative, and if not informative, then at least we hope we were entertaining.
Yeah. Next week we'll have something more happy.
Yeah. I think before this came out, we were going to talk about Sea Days, so we might roll that to next week.
Yeah.
So.
But we'll see you all next week. We hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble.
Yep.
At least a little bit.
Yep. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.